Shalom, Boker Tov, everyone. Good morning, and thank you for joining us for our daily shiur in Pirkei Avot according to the teachings of Chassidut. And thank you to Chai and Raya for broadcasting our class to all of you around the world. I see we have someone from Santa Fe. Alex, welcome, and please spread the word. And it's wonderful to have so many people join us together now and throughout the day. So we are now at the Perek Aleph, Chapter 1 in your Pirkei Avot. You can open up your Siddur or your Mishna, and we're up to Mishna Tet Zayin, Mishna 16. The Mishna reads as follows: Rabbi Gamliel Haya Omer. Rabbi Gamliel used to say, Asay lecha Rav, make for yourself, appoint for yourself a Rav, a halachic authority, v'histalek min hasafek, and you will go away from a doubt, v'al tarbeh la'aser umadut, and do not increase to do your tithe based on an estimate. Rather, do it exactly. So let's break it down. Usually, each Mishnah has 3 statements. Over here, the first 2 statements are really one. Make for yourself a Rav in order that you should not have a doubt, which means that it's important for every person to have a halachic authority, to be able to seek a halachic ruling for any situation that might come up in one's life. There are so many halachic issues, and the Torah is our life, and it's important that the Rav, the teacher, the rabbi, the halachic authority should rule the correct decision to make in each scenario. Based on this, there are basically 2 statements. Number 1, Asay lecha Rav v'histalek min hasafek. Number 2, v'al tarbeh la'aser umadut. This also explains how this is different than what we learned in Mishnah Vav. Mishnah 6, we also said the 3 words, Asay lecha Rav. You should have for yourself a Rav, a mentor. The difference is that over there, the focus of Asay lecha Rav is a mentor, a spiritual mentor, not just in halachic items. But also in general, it's important that a person has a mentor that can guide a person in different intersections in life that a person can approach. But over here, we're talking more specifically about halacha, and it's important that everybody has a Rav, a halachic authority that is able to guide a person if they have a doubt in how they're supposed to be acting in halacha according to Jewish law. So this will take a person out of a safek. It also says over here in the Bar Tanura that histalek min hasafek, a person should not rule on their own. In other words, if there is a complicated issue for each person on their own level, everyone has in their own world scenario where it can be where they can have a doubt, and it's really important to consult. Even the smartest person, the greatest rabbi, needs to have other people in order to consult and to be able to clarify halachic issues. For a simple person, the question might be, should I do this or that? For a Torah scholar, the question might be a little different. Well, it says in one Mishnah this way. It says in one Talmud another way, so what should I do? So you consult with your halachic authority, and there's always a halachic authority higher than the level that a person is. Nobody can ever say, I am on top of the halacha, I am the highest halachic authority. Even a chief rabbi needs to always consult very often with others. As we see, one of the Sfarim, one of the types of books that we have for centuries are called She'elot Utshuvot, questions and answers. And the greatest rabbis have questions and answers, and you can see how the different rabbis have written between each other different responses, and it's amazing to see how each one was able to gain from the other, and each one was able to inspire others from their own insights into halacha. Then comes the next statement: Ve'al tarbeh la'aser umadut. Do not give a tithe, a tenth of your earnings with an estimate. In other words, when it comes to giving tzedakah, there are different types of maaser. When you're giving a tenth, then you have to give exactly the tithe. You don't give approximately. On one hand, because you might give a little less. On the other hand, even if you give more, there's also a negative part in that. And that is, as the Bartanura explains, that if a person gives a little less, then maybe as far as the maaser is concerned, maybe that's okay if you give approximately. But the fruit will not be fixed because the fruit need to be perfect. And on the other hand, if you gave more than you need to, then the fruit might be good. But the maaser is not going to be exact. The maaser needs to be exactly 10%. You can also give 20%. You can decide a certain amount. But whatever you decide more than the 10%, that's what a person should. That is the minimum that a person should be careful in doing. Now, there's a question that we can ask according to Chassidut, that the first part of the Mishnah is, you should have a Rav, you should have a halachic authority, a rabbi, v'stalek min safek, and you won't have a safek, you won't have a doubt in how to rule. The question is, this is a basic halacha, that you need to have a Rav to tell you, to guide you on how to act. It's not lifnim mishurat adin. If you recall, we mentioned a number of times that the whole point of Pirkei Avot, the ethics of our fathers, is in order to teach us beyond the letter of the law, not the minimum. And what's the law? The law is that if you don't know what the halacha is, then you need to go to a halachic authority. So why is this statement in the Pirkei Avot? To explain the question a little more, based on what we said earlier, that there's a very similar statement earlier on in this chapter, in Mishna Vav, Aseh l'charav. We just explained a few minutes ago that the Mishnah over there is not talking about a halachic question. Over there, that's mainly talking about a spiritual question in the avodat Hashem, in the service of Hashem. But a halachic question, how should the halacha be? That's for this Mishnah. So I can understand why it says the previous statement of Aseh l'charav in the Pirkei Avot, because that one is not talking about halacha. So the Mishnah comes to teach us, you know what? You need to have a spiritual mentor. That I can understand. But over here, we're talking about Aseh l'charav in the most simple terms of the halacha. So why is it stated in the Pirkei Avot in this tractate of the ethics of our fathers? And the explanation is based on what it says in the next chapter, which we'll hopefully learn in the next couple of weeks. It says that a person should not trust in themselves until the day they die, until the day they pass away. Because even if a person's state is in a perfect status, even spiritually speaking, nevertheless, a person should never trust in themselves. Rather, a person should have for themselves a Rav, and in order to negate any spiritual possibility that might come up in the future. In other words, I think the explanation is as possible. I think the explanation is as follows. That usually we associate having a rabbi with a practical question. If I have a question, I go to the rabbi. If I don't have a question, I don't need a rabbi. That approach is wrong. A person needs to have a rabbi, period. One of the reasons is because you might have a question or a doubt now, today. How about tomorrow? How about in the future? Do you have someone that you feel connected to? Do you have a rabbi that can answer your question? If not, that's a problem. In other words, there are some shuls, for example, over here in Jerusalem, that I'm very, very surprised that do not have a rabbi. When I ask some of the people over there, why doesn't the shul have a rabbi? They answer because, we know all the answers. So the rabbi is there not only for spiritual guidance, a rabbi is there also, and primarily for halacha, and even if you don't have a specific question at this moment, everything seems to be fine and dandy, one still needs to have a halachic source, connection, so that if something should come up, then you should be able to ask the question. So in other words, in direct response to the question that we asked, why is this statement in this tractate of Pirkei Avot seemingly it doesn't really relate to Lefnim Yishurat Adin? The answer is a person might not have a specific question right now, but because in the future he might have a question, therefore it is Lefnim Yishurat Adin beyond the letter of the law to have a rabbi in place, to have the phone number, to have a connection. It's not just a technical individual or a figurehead. Rather, it's a human being which you can be connected to, and you can make sure that whenever you have a question, you should be able to ask the person 24/7. You should be able to feel comfortable and to know what to do at any given moment. Now, let's move on to the second statement of this Mishnah. The al tarbeh la'aser madut. Do not increase to do your tithe, your 10%, that's a mitzvah, with an estimate. So this obviously comes in continuation to the first part of the Mishnah, that you should have a Rav, a halachic authority. And we explained that this is in order to help a person in any future scenario, that they should be able to have a clarity in halacha. If a person will say, here's a new statement that person might say, you know what? I don't need a Rav, because in any case, I'll just be machmir. I'll just go to the stringent opinion, and either way, it's all included. So sometimes the Rav, if I were to have a Rav, the guy would say, then he would tell me sometimes, according to halacha, that it's to be lenient, and sometimes to be stringent. So the person might say, no, I don't need a Rav. I'll just always be stringent. So that's why the Tana of our Mishnah says, Rabbi Gamliel says, Al tarbeh la'aser madut. That's not the appropriate way to do. Sometimes Torah tells us this is the halacha, and sometimes you need to be stringent. But if you don't have to be stringent, and you need to do according to the letter of the law, then the rabbi will tell you in this scenario, do not be stringent. So that's why it's another reason to strengthen the concept of aseh l'charav v'histalek min hasafek. You should make for yourself, you should have for yourself, you should establish for yourself a Rav, and you should go away, and you will not have any doubts anymore. Let's move on to Mishnah Yud Zayin, Mishnah 17. Shimon beno Omer, Shimon his son, the son of Rabbi Gamliel, says as follows: Kol yamai gadalti ben chachamim. All of my days I grew up amongst the sages. V'lo matzati leguf tov mishtika, and I did not find for the body anything better than being quiet. V'lo hamedrash ikar ela hamaaseh, and the learning is not the main part, rather the maaseh, the deed. V'chol hamar b'devarim mevi chet, and whoever increases words brings sin. So it's better to say fewer words as opposed to more words. Mishnah 18, Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel Omer. We're going to, Bezrat Hashem, learn Mishnah Yud Zayin more in depth tomorrow. Let's move on to Mishnah 18. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel Omer. Al shlosha dvarim ha'olam kayam. Upon three things the world is sustained. Al hadin, on the judgment. The al ha'emet, and on the truth. The al shalom, and on the peace. Shneimar as it says in the verse, Emet u'mishpat shalom, truth and a peaceful judgment, shiftu b'sha'arechem, you should judge in your gates. Now this Mishnah sounds similar to the second Mishnah of this chapter. The second Mishnah we said, in the second Mishnah, you can turn back for a second, we said, Shimon, it's actually also said by the Rabbi Shimon, it's a different Shimon. That was Shimon HaTzadik. And he said that the world stands on three things: on Torah, on avoda, on service of Hashem, which is davening, v'al gemilut chasadim, and on kind acts. Over here, the Mishnah says a similar statement, but it's different. It doesn't say al shlosha dvarim ha'olam omed, on the three things the world stands. Over here it says al shlosha dvarim ha'olam kayam, upon three things the world is sustained. In other words, omed is like the foundation, the base of the world. What's the base of the world? What keeps the world standing? That's Torah, avodah, and gemilut chasadim, as we said in Mishnah 2, Mishnah Bet. Over here, the Mishnah says, upon three things the world upon three things the world is sustained. In other words, once the world was already standing, there are three things that keep the world going, keep the world running. Judgment. In the world, you need to have judgment. You need to have rules. V'al ha'emet, and on the truth. V'al ha'shalom, and on peace. You need to have truth in the world. You need to have, first of all, judgment, that a person that's correct should be judged correctly, and the person that is a rasha, that is evil, should be judged accordingly. Then you have emet, that people should not lie to one another. V'al ha'shalom, you need to have peace between kingdoms and between man and their friend. So think of it as being two sources to a car, to give life to the car. You have the engine, or even the battery, and then you have the gasoline that you fill up the gas to keep it going. So if you're talking about the foundation of the car, what makes the car a car, what keeps the car going, is the engine, and even you can even say the battery. That's part of the basis of the original object, which is the car. But then you need to keep it going. You need to have the gasoline. So one can say that all of the above keep the car, make the car move, make the car run. But if you're to divide between the two, so the engine and the battery, they give the main life source, which that's probably the explanation for the fact that the clock never stops in other parts of the car. They right away, they snap into place when you open the car. How does the clock of the car keep on going if the gas is turned off? The engine is turned off. So there is an inner battery which sort of keeps the car going, at least on certain levels. So you have the foundation, the base, and then you have keeping the object going, and that is this Mishnah, al shlosha dvarim ha'olam kayam. Upon three things the world is sustained, and this is how we keep it going: on judgment, on truth, and on shalom. Obviously, these are three very, very powerful objects. Din, judgment, is technical. Emet is the neshama. Neshama, we're talking about emet, being truthful to one another. That is something which brings shalom. That's something which brings peace. That when we have peace with one another, then that is the best way, if not the only way, to be able to sustain the world. And of course, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says at the end of the Mishnah that Lo matzah HaKadosh Baruch Hu kli machzik bracha li Yisroel ela shalom. Hashem did not find an appropriate vessel for Am Yisrael, only peace. So what is this vessel? That's shalom. Once we have shalom, then everything else will fit into place. Be'ezrat Hashem, tomorrow we're going to expand upon Mishna Yud Zayin with some very beautiful insights into what Shimon said about when to be quiet and when to speak and when to act. Everyone should have a great day. I want to remind you that we're going to be starting a Beit Midrash this coming week. Sundays and Tuesdays in English and Mondays and Thursdays in Hebrew. And please sign up with Rabbi Diamond. You can send them a message. We already have a few people that have signed up, and we're looking forward for a very big success, a great successful learning. 2 hours a day, and each hour is going to be a different subject. We have Rabbi Weinberg, who is a great teacher over here in Rechavia, and also Rabbi Silver, who moved to Yerushalayim over the past couple of years, and is going to be a great insight. Rabbi Silver is going to be talking about the Parsha Garden, the beautiful insights that he has on the Parsha. He wrote a couple of books already, and he's going to be sharing with us his insights. And also Rabbi Weinberg's subject will be davening with the Baal Shem Tov, praying with the Baal Shem Tov, insights of the Baal Shem Tov. This is going to be very wonderful. That's going to be on Sundays. And of course, tonight we're going to be learning our regular Tuesday night class at 7:30 right here and in person. So please come to Chabad of Rechavia. Make a point of coming. Strengthen the class, because next Tuesday night we're going to have our monthly class, our monthly lecture over here at Chabad of Rechavia. So we're trying to bring as much activity and as much Torah learning right here. I have an honor of informing you that we're going to be having a special Farbrengen a couple of days before the Rebbe's yard site. In 2 weeks from Thursday, Rabbi Manis Friedman is going to be giving a special Farbrengen for all of the English Chabad houses across Israel. It's going to be on Zoom Thursday evening, 2 weeks from this Thursday, Rosh Chodesh Tammuz. We're all looking forward to a great Farbrengen in the Rebbe's honor. So just mark it down in your Google Calendar so that we should be able to have as many people as possible. Spread the word. The advertisement will be coming out very, very soon. All the best. Toda Rabba, and have a great day.